I had always avoided happiness ever since the death of my eldest sister, Carol. My good people, Carol had died a slow and very painful death. She had left me so heartbroken and so defeated in life. You see, Carol had been misdiagnosed by a rogue doctor. And even at the time of her passing, my dear sister Carol had been given drugs that were not meant to cure the disease that she was suffering from. So this story begins in the third year of 2017. Carol had been diagnosed by severe ulcers, a very severe stomach problem. And by the time that we were taking our eldest sister Carol to the hospital, we expected that that particular hospital would really walk her through a very kind and refreshing journey to recovery. A decision to take Carol to that hospital is one that we regret even today. So the time that she was being hospitalized, she was placed under the charge of one Dr. Mutiso. Dr. Mutiso was a very respected clinical officer who had over 30 years of experience in general medical practice, and he was a brief guy with an easy smile, and people around that particular hospital facility had so much respect for him. So my good sister Carol was hospitalized. I remember that day, and the usual tests began, the usual ward rounds began, and every day we prayed that she was going to regain her feet. But my good people, we got alarmed on the second week of our admission at that particular hospital, because then we remember this good old doctor, Dr. Mutiso, just prescribing drugs to her without basic tests, without, asking her about her medical history and all that. She would just be asked a few random questions on how she was feeling, and then certain very powerful tablets will be brought from the pharmacy, and she would be administered these drugs without any iota of inquiry. There was no blood tests, there were no stool tests, there was no kind of tests, but the kind of drugs that Dr. Mutiso was administering to my sister Carol were very heavy. At the point that we began questioning Dr. Mutiso's, medical administration to my sister at that point, the gentleman became very harsh with us. He told us that he's the doctor at that particular place and he knew what he was doing, and we had no I beg your pardon, we had no moral obligation whatsoever to question the kind of medicine that he was administering to my sister Carol. So my good people, I remember very well on the third week of Carol's admission, we got truly alarmed when she started losing weight at a very, very dangerous rate. She lost her appetite, she lost her demeanor, and she could not eat, she could not talk. But this hospital kept giving her these drugs in the morning, in the evening, without really caring whether she had taken anything. No tests, no blood examinations were done up to the third week of her admission to that medical facility. As a family, we had depleted all our resources, because then that was an expensive hospital, and every day we had to hold harambes, WhatsApp groups, so that we could raise monies to help with the local running and medical facilitation daily for our eldest sister Carol. So it was a very difficult month for us in that year of 2017. So my good people, I remember at the beginning of the fourth week when we could really, we could not understand what was going on. There was no kind of improvement on her health. Then the Dr. Mutiso was very dismissive, not willing to, give us any medical report of any kind. And I remember the day that we decided to seek the intervention of police is the same day that my sister passed on. I remember, my good people, that morning was the gloomiest morning in the history of our existence as a family. Our good sister Carol was pronounced dead at 10 a.m. when we were just preparing to go and seek the intervention of police in this matter. This is because earlier that morning, when we had arrived to do our routine checkup on her, we had been slapped by a bill of 79,000 shillings from the powerful drugs that she was using, and there was no iota of improvement. So where on planet Earth were we going to raise 79,000 shillings that day, and yet even 250 shillings or worth of fare coming from the house to visit her was hard to come by? And you know, Dr. Mutiso, together with his staff, told us that no, you can, this lady cannot leave this hospital. Her waist downwards is paralyzed, but most importantly for them, she could not live without clearing that 79,000 bill. So it's that particular point in time that we decided to, you know, seek the intervention of police. Sadly, it's the same morning that our sister Carol passed on. So not to put shame to the name of the hospital, they decided that since she had died and we could not raise the money, her lifeless body would only become a liability to that particular hospital. So they gave us the body and told us that they had waived that particular, you know, fee that we had not paid, and they told us to go away with the body. So my good people, at the time that my elder sister Carol was passing away, she was in her early 30s. Unfortunately for her, she had no child, as well as she was unmarried. This is because she had spent most of her life tending to her small business. She had a boutique at the estate where she used to live, as well as tending for her health, because she had a terminal illness. So her life revolved around her business as well as her health. So now we had her body here, we had to begin the tedious process of burial arrangement and all that. We decided to take Dr. Mutiso and his hospital to court so that we would seek explanations on why he had misdiagnosed my sister, given the wrong drugs to her, slapped us with monies that he knew too well we could not come by, and finally threw her body to us at the time that she passed on. My good people, there was no hope of justice at that particular court because the lawyers, Dr. Mutiso's lawyers, were very tough people. They put up a very spirited defense for him, and together with this money, the court threw away our case as unsubstantial, and that my sister had died out of natural causes. So justice was defeated. There was nothing that we could do as a family, and therefore we proceeded with the burial of our kin. I remember when we were lowering Carol to the grave, it was a very heavy moment for us. Life had lost meaning, truly. Life had lost meaning, and myself, I began losing reasons to live. This is because this was the only sister I had. I'd lost my parents earlier in the years, and being alone in this cold, bad earth was something that was beginning to take a toll on me. So fast forward, after the mourning period and the burial period, I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost literally everything, and of course, as well as my reasons to live. But I knew life, being a man, life had to continue anyway. So fast forward, I remember registering for therapy classes at an establishment along Gong Road, where we would meet and talk about our life experiences, exchange difficulties with other people, and explore possible areas to which we could collaborate and heal. So I remember the first week of my days at the therapy place, we were 7 registered members. Others had lost their parents and kins like me. Others had lost their marriages. Very bad divorce cases were there. Others were battling terminal illnesses. Others had psychosocial problems. So we could come together and, you know, talk about what we felt, so that in that endeavor of sharing experiences, we could find closure somehow and you know, regain to have a positive perspective of life. So I must admit, to some extent, the therapy classes helped me regain viewpoints about life that I had not had ever since the loss of my parents then and my sister fairly recently. So at that particular therapy class, there was a lady I met by the name Angela. So Angela was coming from a very wealthy family, and she had been homeschooled, and she had absentee parents. Her parents were very busy people who were either traveling around the world doing business, or, you know, just always on the go. She would see her dad twice a month. She opened up to that. Her mom was a very respected business lady who was in the import and export business, always traveling around the world, touring global business enterprises, you know, having a life or time of her life. So Angela had no life beyond the walls of their big home in Karen. She had everything she needed as a kid, except she lacked the touch with her immediate society. She did not know anyone beyond the workers in their home, because then the parents were away. So this had really taken a toll on her. She had become so depressed. She had become so, you know, introverted, and a little bit sense of depression was, you know, getting into her. So that's why she had been enrolled into this particular therapy establishment. So it so happened that coincidentally, I don't think it was intended, coincidentally, myself and Angela began, you know, sharing time together, especially before and after the therapy sessions. We would exchange experiences. Sometimes we would take a walk along Gong Road. When the traffic was heavy, we would walk all the way to Dagoretti roundabout together. Then she would take her bus to Karen. I would take mine back to town. So we grew fond of each other, and the friendship blossomed into a unique tightness. And to be very honest, my good people, I did not intend to fall in love with Angela. It happened in a matter that today I can't really explain, but it happened, and like they say, the rest is history. So our relationship picked up in a very systematic manner. We could spend time together, and we could talk about things. So basically, our love was cooled by experience and motivated by tragedy. We were just two innocent people, two innocent souls, trying to renew our hopes in life, trying to renew our hopes in love. And to be very honest, my good people, my relationship with Angela began to unfold into a very beautiful love story. So I remember very well, 2 months into what we were sharing in the name of love, she had invited me to visit their home in Karen, so that she would, you know, introduce me to her brother, the only close family she had ever known, despite her parents coming and going. So I said, she's my girlfriend. I mean, why not? Why not visit her home? So I remember on that particular weekend, it was on a very lovely Saturday morning. I had promised to be there by around 11:30 a.m. in the morning. We would, you know, chill and, you know, take lunch together. Afterwards, he would, you know, go to Ngong Hills for a hike. So that was the plan. It was a very beautiful morning. I remember it was around 11:45. My Uber got to the particular pin that she had, the location that she had pinned me, and that was quite the home. A very big mansion, meticulously built, very nice gates. The security for that particular home was to detail, and indeed that was opulence. Those were people with money, and ironically, to that extent of wealth, and yet the child of the home was sinking deep into the dirty waters of depression. Again, my people, life can be very ironical. So I got in, and I remember she came to the gate, opened the gate, my Uber got in, she welcomed me vizuri sana, and she led me to the backyard. At the backyard, the brother was playing piano, so I joined him, a very tall, well-built guy with a very easy smile, very composed. I think he had schooled abroad. Oh, the accent had lessons of British accent, and well-mannered. Somebody who had a very recognizable global perspective in him. So I remember very well, it was at the point that lunch was being served that we had a hoot at the gate, their gate, and she rushed to go and open the gate. And I could hear saying that it's her dad who had come to visit. And because he visited that particular home of his twice every month. I think that was one of the weekends of the month to which he was visiting. So I remember seeing a very dark Land Cruiser V8 driving in. It was tinted, so I could not see who was inside. It drove in, went and parked in the very expansive parking lot. And from where we were sitting, we could see the dad stepping out of the car and, you know, locking the car and walking towards us. My good people, it's at that particular moment that I immediately recognized Angela's dad. This was Dr. Mutiso, who had misdiagnosed my sister. She had died, and this same Dr. Mutiso is the same one that had kicked us out of the hospital with her body.